There's no wrong way to be an entrepreneur, and that's the dirty little secret the business gurus don't want you to know. They want you to do things their way, but their way may not be your way. The key to success is finding the strategies that work best for you. Welcome to the 6 Ways with Jerry Potter.
On today's show, we are sharing 6 ways to make videos faster using AI. Welcome to episode number 5 of the 6 Ways. Every week, we bring on a smart, innovative guest that is thriving in their field of expertise to share their best tips with the rest of us so we can all achieve our entrepreneurial goals. Because I truly believe we all do better when we all do better. And so we might as well all be helping each other out as much as possible. My name is Jerry Potter. I'm a social media coach and speaker, as well as a recovering perfectionist. After being born in Tokyo, and going to a Japanese preschool, I've never been back, but I'm excited to share I'm doing the show live from Osaka right now, where it is very early in the morning. My guest today is Diana Gladney, who I saw speak at Social Media Marketing World this year in San Diego. And Diana, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
So I help entrepreneurs and content creators, video content entrepreneurs, simplify the video creation process so you can reach wider and connect deeper with the people that need you the most. A lot of times you see a lot of stuff out there from videographers and photographers and all these other ographers. Instead of somebody just helping you to make videos for your business, and that is what we do. So the tech can get out of the way so you can get in front of your audience.
Yeah, and Diana has a podcast called Video Simplified, the Video Simplified podcast, which is a great name because a lot of times when you start talking about something, I'm like, okay, where's she going with this? And then it's like, oh, of course, it's going to be simple at the end.
Yeah,
which is one of the reasons I'm so excited for this conversation today. So AI, artificial intelligence, is changing so fast. In fact, I was talking about topics that could be talked about at next year's Social Media Marketing World, which will be next late winter. And it's kind of thing where it's like, I don't know that you can plan anything around AI now because so much is going to change. In fact, like 5 new AI tools have probably come out since we started the show, like 12 seconds ago at this point. And so how much, though, has AI just in the last 6 months impacted your video creation process?
I definitely will say it did a lot, simply because when you think about what is AI and the ways that you're using it, some of the tools that you already use for business was implementing it before we knew. So like the big one for me was Descript. And Descript and like vidIQ were great. They were already doing this before the Chat GPT craze came along. So those were huge. Well, now when you look at things that really help to speed up your workflow, now we're looking at integrating it in a lot of different areas where it makes sense. Like, so where do we need a human touch? And then where do we need the AI touch with some human assistance to really make stuff happen? And to be honest with you, it's like getting 1 or 2 more employees on top of what you already have, where you have people or not.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's so well put. And it's interesting because most of the people that I talk to, like people in my Social Media Leads Lab program, they're either kind of like, all right, so is it going to do everything for me? Or they're like, I don't know, that sounds scary. I don't want to, talk to the robots or whatever it might be. And we're not in either of those places. Everybody should talk to the robots, but it's not going to do everything for us quite yet. But we're going to get into exactly how it can help us right now. So we're going to share 6 ways to make videos faster using AI. So Diana's going to share 3. I'm going to share 3. Also, our question of the week from Esther, she said, what is the minimum number of videos I need to make for me to successfully market my business online? So we'll delve into that in just a second as well. So what we do here on the show, Diana, is we do rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. Okay. Remember how to play?
I'm a master at it. Let's go.
Well, I'm terrible. I always shoot off screen for people that are watching the video podcast. And then it's like, I'm not trying to cheat. So I'm going to try and hold it right in front of the camera here. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, shoot. Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
1, 2, shoot. And then of course there's the slight lag. Okay, right. Paper beats rock.
Okay.
All right. So I'll go first then. All right. So 6 ways to make video faster using AI. Number 1, this is something that I've started doing, and it's actually planning my content in a way that makes it easier for AI to turn into other content. And so there are lots of ways that you can tweak the way you plan your videos ahead of time where, AI can help in different ways, and we can talk about some of those. But the biggest thing is I've started making more content. This whole show is actually built on this idea of making content that can be chopped up into more content. And so this show is called The 6 Ways, partially for the premise, which is there are lots of ways to be successful as an online entrepreneur. Don't let any guru tell you their way is the only way. There's, so that's part of it. But part of it is it's a listicle, to use the word that I think BuzzFeed originally made popular back in the day. It's 6 different pieces of content alone, at minimum, in each episode. And so there are these AI tools now, and I tell you, they are far from perfect, but it's pretty amazing. And I think they're going to get there. Like the one that I've been playing with is called video.ai, and it's video.ai. And it'll take a video and it will basically look for highlight moments and turn them into other content. And so I've played with this a little bit. And so if you do things in a way that's sort of in a list format, for example, it's easier for those AI tools on the back end to then turn it into something else. Right. And so that has been one way that I and again, it's not perfect. Video.ai has not turned out anything that I'm like, great, hit publish.
Yeah, immediately, right.
Yeah, but it's getting there, and as I always say to people, it's like, okay, you start with the AI and then end with I. Like you're always going to have that personal touch on the back end. So yeah, so that's my first one. All right, ways to make videos faster using AI. Number 2, what do you got, Diana?
I would say make sure you have a competent workflow before you introduce any AI systems. Because I think a lot of people think, let me go buy this service, this one that fits in these genres or these categories. And what they don't have is a working model to actually see if you replace that, if it is it working better or worse. All you're going off is what they said it could do and what it's capable of or will become even more capable of versus how is this in a real world use case when you're on the go, you forgot to do this. How is it actually working for you? And I think that's what a lot of people forget about. They create all these workflow systems, but are they actually working? So have the human model outlined, ready to go, so that when you find a new service and you find something that you do want to try, then it makes more sense to see where it fits in the puzzle of all the stuff that you're doing. And if it makes sense, then go ahead and replace it.
And so if somebody doesn't have a video workflow yet, like at all, are you suggesting to almost ignore AI until you figure out the basics?
No, I would say start making like a list of services that and I'm saying like top 3, top 5, maybe at most. And even that is a lot because it takes time to go through all this stuff. And that's why I said have a working workflow first. So if you don't have that documented, then the first step may be getting an SOP. And there are tools out there that will allow you to capture what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. I feel so bad because I literally had the name on the top of my tongue and I forgot it. But it was a tool that we were trying and just to test for the accuracy of as you work day to day, how well does it track what you're doing and where you're going? So your time is being tracked without you having to physically do it yourself. And I know it's going to come to me as soon as we move on to the next one, but that's what it is. And so and it's something that you just set up in the background. It pays attention to the websites and stuff that you're going to. Obviously, yes, you need to give it permissions. And I'm sure there'll be a ton of tools that do this. But yeah, it's just like if you look at like a AI time tracking tool and just see which one maybe fits your workflow better or which one you agree to more, then go with that and then you can see how well is it working. What I found is these tools are about 80% accurate. So there's still some gaps that you do need to go and fill in. But if you have a busy day where you do have a bunch of stuff doing that you're doing and you don't know, then do that. If not, then take the manual approach. Use something like a toggle track and you actually know what you're doing. So right now my toggle is going because the first thing I needed to do is figure out where my time was going so I could figure out where AI makes sense. Like I was saying, like in the first point here, but just make sure you figure out where your time is going. Where do you need the most help that you're not maybe paying attention to because you're just so used to brushing it off. So that's what the time tracking AI for sure.
I love that you brought those up because I've seen those and I haven't played with any of them yet. Where they will basically help you understand how you're using your time, and especially for anyone who is falls into that solopreneur category where you're doing it all yourself. I'll tell you, the first time I went to hire somebody, I wrote up the process. It was a video something. It wasn't my regular YouTube videos. I forget what it was, but it was a video something, and it was like 84 steps. And I asked my wife to look at it. I'm like, so can you look at this and see if this makes sense? I'm going to hire somebody. This is going to be the SOP, the standard operating procedure. And she looked at that and she goes, you can't pay anyone to do that. That's insanity. That's so many steps. Once I looked at it again, it was kind of like, oh, there is a lot of like extra stuff in there. And some of it is the minutia, right? If you're giving somebody
Yeah.
step-by-step instructions, it has to be step-by-step if you
Mhm.
want it done right.
Yeah. And
I
so
love that.
it's funny. I'm saying that, and then I just looked at it real quick on my phone. It's called Timely. You
Timely.
want to track your Timely.
Okay.
Time LY.
Okay.
Time
Perfect.
LY, yeah.
All right. Ways to make videos faster using AI. Number 3, consider changing how you make your videos to take advantage of some of the awesome tools. So my favorite tool is Descript by far. And if you want to see all the reasons, I actually put up a blog specifically about this. If you go to why Descript, like why should you use Descript, whydescript.com, you can see these.
Mhm.
But it is it does so many things so well. And it's actually changed the way that I do things because of that. So, for example, I used to try and record all of my Facebook and Instagram reels in one take. I would just memorize the content, it's 30 to 60 seconds. And then I would just try and do it so that when I was done, I could trim off the front and the back if I even needed to do that and not
Mhm.
edit anything else. But Descript has made it so fast to just chop out the sections and make jump cuts that I don't even bother memorizing my script anymore. If I have an idea, and I kind of, I know my formula, I know what my hook's going to be and stuff like that. I'll just look at the camera, record a piece, look back at my notes if I have any, look again. And it's so much faster that way because I'm spending less time sort of practicing and learning it. So that's one thing that I've changed with that. And then the other thing was I never used to do B-roll in anything because I was worried about licensing and I got to find this video clip and stuff like that. And Diana, you make much more beautiful videos than I do with, some of this stuff. But with Descript, it was the same thing now where there's a built-in video library and you literally just drag it on top of the part you want and it's just there.
Mhm.
And so, even for the video podcast of this show has B-roll in it. And the only reason is because Descript was there. So, it's not something you want to jump into right away. I still fully agree with what Diana said, which is like figure out your workflow for videos first, then figure out how you can save time incorporating different AI tools. But once you find out about these, you may actually change the way and save time doing it simply because some of these tools exist. And that has been a big, big shift for me. So,
Super
all
smart.
right. Ways to make videos faster using AI. We're on number 4. Diana?
I would definitely say so. This one is just using regular old Chat GPT. And so what I would say recommend you start a conversation. Look at your things that you're starting as conversations. So once you're doing something, let's say it's emails. I absolutely abhor emails. I hate them. And so that's why you usher your assistant to do those for you. But sometimes getting repeatable stuff is frustrating or you got to feel like you are starting over. So once you get a success, you hit success with getting a reply back from Chat GPT the way that you want to. What I recommend is kind of twofold, which is number 1, save this to your standard operating procedures or your SOPs of your existing workflow. If you don't have SOPs, this is your note to go ahead and start making them.
Mhm.
And then number 2, to add to that, ask Chat GPT what the ideal prompt is. So to get this kind of result that you did for whatever the work was, so that you get duplicatable results. Because for a lot of these tools that I'm finding out there, sometimes it honestly just is better to use Chat GPT because it's more flexible. It's not within a container per se, but getting that duplicatable results in that way for it to respond and be on brand for you. Ask it, how can I enter in? What would I need to enter into you for you to give me this kind of reply anytime I ask for help with an email doing X, Y, and Z? Give me the prompt. And it'll say exactly what you need to say. Paste that into your company SOP.
And so you sort of have a repeatable copy and paste thing. So you can, in other words, if you need to tell it who your target audience is, who your ideal customer is, what their pain points are, you have something you put in the top of almost everything that you ask for, or for a specific type of video, for example.
Yeah, so you're not having to always start over, and you're honestly just redoing a bunch of stuff that you already figured out once before. And like Google Docs is perfect for this, creating a folder and just knowing that when it comes to emails, and this is what we need for asking specifics for brand, before you work with them to have those conversations, this is what we need, blah, 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 blah. Have that stuff already together. So it's copy and paste. So the human interaction aspect of it is already done. The systems aspect now is what you're filling in. And so I'm a big systems and efficiency person. So that's why I'm like, how can I stop spending 40 minutes in Chat GPT to get the same thing every day, so
Yeah.
create that prompt for yourself and make it a template.
Well, and I love the prompt that you mentioned, like, ask Chat GPT how to get the result you want from Chat GPT.
Yep.
And we all use different software tools, and some of them have great support and some of them have terrible support. But Chat GPT has its own support kind of built in, like, how do I do this? And it'll usually tell you, depending on whatever it might be. So, all right, ways to make videos faster using AI. Number 5. This is also a Chat GPT option that I've started using, and it's really, really helpful, is to use Chat GPT to add examples and stories and personality to your videos. Now, I didn't always consider myself a creative person. In fact, my wife is the super creative one, and I was sort of the logical one. When we used to host a radio show together, she'd say, how about we do this? And I'd go, all right, and here's how we'll do it without getting arrested or fined or, whatever it might be. But I do believe creativity is a muscle. And so I feel like I'm a relatively creative person now, but sometimes we're just fried, right? There's nothing left. And for all of your video content, examples and stories can always spice it up and make it so much more consumable. Your watch time will go up and more memorable later. So especially for short form video, where they might actually remember it was you that made that 28-second video, 3 swipes later on TikTok or whatever it might be. And so to give you an example, I've seen a lot of people say, I put my script into Chat GPT and then I asked Chat GPT to make it funny, and then I'm funny. You still want your script to be you, and and on the humor side, if you can't deliver, comedy right anyway because somebody else wrote it, it's probably not going to play up.
Yeah.
What I mean is asking it for specific examples. So, like, I was recently brainstorming for a client who is a parenting coach. And we were sort of trying to, talk about the transition of going from having your kids fighting to having your kids not fighting or not fighting as much. And so I put into Chat GPT, what are some fun ways that parents might celebrate if their kids hadn't fought for a whole week or something like that? And so it generated a list of like 10 things that parents might do to celebrate if their kids, and it wasn't about celebrating like with the kids, like you did so good. It's like, how might the parents celebrate, behind closed doors? And one of the ideas that came up was make a trophy to give to themselves, like a cheesy trophy or something. And I was like, well, I don't know about a cheesy trophy. But then through the conversation, it turned out the trophy would become a bottle of wine. Like, look what we did. Our kids didn't fight for, for a whole week.
Yeah.
And so, but it all came from, that moment. We said, hey, what are some fun ways that parents might celebrate if they were, if they were able to parent in a way their kids didn't fight for a whole week? And it's amazing where your brain can go sometimes if it just has a little nudge of creativity from another source. And so that is one of my favorite things to do now, is just ask for a story or an example or something like that to enhance the content in your videos. And I will tell you that this is about speeding up the process of video making. And this is an additional step, unless you compare it to sitting there when you're creatively fried and trying to come up with an idea on your own. This took 2 minutes versus I could have spent a half hour trying to come up with something good separately.
Yes.
So, all right. Ways to make videos faster using AI. Number 6. What do you got, Diana?
Yes. So this one, I'll tell you what the tool is in a second, but this one comes because a lot of entrepreneurs were testing and trying a bunch of stuff. And again, if you're just working by yourself, then I'm not in agreement of wasting anyone's time, especially your own. So be careful of that. And the organization can only move at the speed of the leader. So if you have a team and you're constantly throwing new tools at them to try, you're breaking your systems that did work before AI. So what I recommend is beta test anything of what you're doing so you can have the side-by-side results yourself. Then if you see success, then have your team to test it. Don't interrupt the system. Ask them to try it maybe once out of every 3 projects of that thing, or once every 4 times, so that you're starting to incrementally introduce things instead of having them a 360 change. Because what we're finding is, like you said, the chat support or just support in general for some of these tools is not great. So when you are 100% reliant on a company that started 30 days ago because somebody understood enough to make a landing page of a tool and get the subscription money, doesn't mean they know how to fix something when it breaks. So when you completely rely on these new tools, which I'm not saying they're bad or anything, it's just like your system breaks. Now you don't even have an up-to-date human workflow, which goes back to point number 1. So beta test it, you first, then your team. Then once you figure out if it works or not, go ahead and update it. And what we did this with is our podcast. And so like you said, the script, we have elements that use the script and stuff like that. But in the planning phase or in the production phase, that written side of stuff, we started using a tool called Clarity Scribe, which is by Ray Edwards. And so this is his like pastor framework. This is his brain, his copywriting brain, all those elements that make sense for marketing, not just something that sounds good, but it actually is true copywriting stuff.
Has the psychology built in.
Yes. So we're not reliant on Chat GPT and what it is doing, a culmination of stuff versus like, no, I need it specific. So when it comes to that written side, we start using Clarity Scribe for like the podcast, because we can put in like what the description should be. It'll give you the show notes. It'll give you like endless captions. So a bunch of social media posts with emojis and stuff. It has like over 10 voice styles that you can fit to either fit the mood of what you're saying, or if one fits more to your brand aesthetic. And so, like you said before, something that would just take like 40 minutes now becomes 5 minutes. So now that stuff that what makes sense and what doesn't, we can just do that in Clarity Scribe. So we've been doing that. So it's like I tested it and tried it myself, gave access to my team. It's like, we both like it. This is working. Let's replace the thing that we were doing before, which is just waiting on me in between my schedule, to now let's go ahead and do it and use the tool. So that's what I recommend. Beta test yourself, then your team, and then introduce the thing and roll it out slowly.
2 things I love about what you just said. One, because there are new tools coming out all the time, we have to have some kind of boundaries, right? We can't just say, oh, I saw a Facebook ad for this, or I was listening to this show and somebody mentioned this, and so I got to go put that in, right now. And so it's good to kind of have that in there. And, nobody's business is going to fall apart because you waited a month to try out a new tool, that came out. It's okay. And then the other thing you said, it's like some of these companies were literally started, 30 days ago. I mean, this is like the American gold rush. It's like, oh my gosh, AI, we've got to make our AI tools, and this is here, and we're all going to make millions of dollars. And I've signed up for some of these, and I can't even upload a video, for example, in the first page, and I contact support, and 3 weeks have gone by before I've heard anything back. And so that's a really important thing. And that's one of the main reasons not to dive into something when you don't have time for it, because you might just end up wasting that kind of time there. So
100%.
Really, really well put. All right. So our question of the week is from Esther, and it is related to video. And she said, what is the minimum number of videos I need to make for me to successfully market my business? And obviously, this could go a lot of different places. But Diana, why don't you chime in on Esther's question first?
To be very transparent and honest with you, Esther, I would highly recommend you change the language of it. And it's not the minimum that you need. It's figure out what is required. And are you willing to say yes to that or no to that? And then just be done with it if you're not. Because sometimes what we find is like some people say, well, yeah, just do once a week, or you can do once a month and just put it in a thing. If that is not what your ideal target audience needs, is looking for, desires, all you're doing is setting yourself up for more frustration, money wasted on stuff to get everything right, and then it not work. And you're like, oh, those people lied to me. They stole my money about this coaching stuff or whatever for YouTube, and it didn't work because they're trying to give you something to give you more comfort instead of just telling you the truth. This is what actually, so figure out what is actually required, not the minimum. The minimum barely gets, I don't know if, to be honest, I don't know if anything is like, oh, the minimum that you only need to do is like, no, it doesn't work that way. So figure out what is truly required for whatever that level of success is that you're trying to have. Like if you know you need 300 leads per month in order for you to get the 15 or 20 clients that you need per month, in order for you to get 1 or 2 superstar clients per month, like whatever those numbers are, it may have a requirement that's more than you're willing to commit to. So accept yes or no if you're willing to do that or not. And that's the way, because it's like giving you and saying just once per week or at least post 2 to 3 to 4 times per day on social is going to do it if it's not going to work for the goals that you have. That's what it depends on.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I'm going to say something different, but it's my advice is much better prefaced by what you said first. So the people are often looking for the minimums. We do this with exercise, with working out. Like how many times do I have to work out a week to be in shape or to live longer or to lose weight or whatever it might be? And so, with social media, I always talk about I'll give people kind of a minimum with that. But it is like
Mhm.
you said, you either decide this is important to your business and do it, or decide it's not.
Mm.
And so in the social media space, there's a lot of people where they're doing, what I call the get it off my plate minimum. And it's kind of
Oh.
like, it's off my plate. I had my really good friend, John, years ago when I first started specializing in this. He's like, can't you just take care of my social media for $99 a month or something like that? And I was like, no problem. You send me $99 a month and I will do nothing. And you'll get the same results as if you paid somebody else $99 a month, right? You're just not
Mm.
going to get anything of quality for that.
Mm.
But I do think hope is important. And so what I'll say with this, Esther, is just with myself as an example, YouTube is a platform where you don't have to keep pumping out content like you do on TikTok,
Yeah.
where it's just constant. So like on YouTube, I
Mhm.
started my channel and I said, I'm going to do it for 1 year, no matter what. And I almost quit a bunch of times because it was really slow in the beginning. But I put
Mhm.
out one good video a week. I'd batch them. I'd record 3 months of videos in a single day because I was working full time and 2 young kids and needed a quiet house. I mean, it was the only way I could do it, but it worked. And I got my first client from YouTube without even looking for clients. It was a hobby at 17 subscribers. And then 6 months later, I had 100. And then a month after that, 1,000. And then a year later, 10,000. And so, one good piece of content, a week can do that on the right platforms, but it still takes time. And I really would circle back to what Diana said is it's either important to you or not. And if
Mhm.
you have bigger numbers like that, like I had no goals. I wasn't like, okay, now I've got to pay the mortgage. I need this many clients. I was just like, let's see what happens. And
Mhm.
it took time, but it's gotten to the point now where I'm coming up on 6 years later with my YouTube channel where now it, is doing it regularly. It's bringing in leads regularly, but you're not going to
Yeah.
get that in the beginning.
Yeah. 100%. Because the thing I hate to see is people dump a bunch of money into buying programs, buying services, buying gear, and all this stuff, and it's like, it's like like you said, it's if you're going to do one good quality video per week, you said you did a lot of work before you got to the publish button and stuff.
Yeah.
And those are a lot of other commitments to get to that thing. And it's like I don't know if everybody that has not entered into content creation and you're hitting publish on your content, do they really understand all of the things? So when you said like I almost quit a bunch of times, amen, brother, because it's so many times you're like, good Lord, it takes forever to get to this one video per week kind of a thing, but you see what's required with it. So I just, I think that's brilliant advice to know what are you getting yourself into? Are you going to commit to this? You said 1 year, and for sure I'm doing it for that. So just brilliant.
Well, it's the same thing with this show, the 6 ways. This is our 5th episode and I'm committed to 1 year and we'll, and I've got bigger visions and lots of things that can happen with it. We do the live recording with the audience like we're doing right now. And then there's a video and audio podcast that comes out later, of the same content and all these different things. But when I started, it was like, I'm going to commit to a year because I won't know at least for 6 months if it's doing anything impactful. So if
smart,
you want more help, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the only thing to that is that people set like 30, 60 days and see if it's going to work or not. And be like, what works in 30 to 60 days? Minus some ibuprofen or something. But, it's like, I digress.
In content marketing, that's not enough. That's not enough time for sure. So Diana has a great video planning guide. If you want to grab it, you can go to onewritevideo.com/video planning guide. Note the 2 G's from planning and guide when you're typing that. So onewritevideo.com/video planning guide. And then One Right Video, the name of her book, The One Right Video, which if I wasn't traveling in Japan right now, I'd hold up because I got it and I read it and it's full of all kinds of really good stuff. There you go.
Always have one on the desk.
There you go. That's perfect. All right. Next week on the show, Jen Herman, Instagram expert, is going to be joining me. We're going to talk about 6 ways to make better Instagram Reels. If you want any of the links or to connect with Diana, check the show notes out for this episode of the podcast at the6ways.com/5. Some really great tips were shared today. And so remember, we all do better when we all do better. So take a second right now, think about who you know that might benefit from this and make sure to send it to them or tag them. And Diana, thank you for being on the show. Let's recap the 6 ways here really quick. I went first. So my first one was plan your content in a way that's easy for AI to cut up. So sometimes if you are writing almost like you would write a term paper in college where you've got specific sections or a list like this show is, AI tools sometimes are better at finding that and turning it into other stuff. Second thing was, as you discover AI tools and that they're effective, consider changing how you make your videos to take advantage of those tools. I no longer memorize my Instagram reel scripts because the tool Descript can chop them together so fast, no matter how many times I mess up. And then 3, use Chat GPT to ask for examples and stories that you can put into your videos. It can add a lot of creativity while still keeping it in your brand voice. And then, Diana, a quick recap of your ways.
Yep, definitely. So number one is make sure you have a working workflow before you introduce and start implementing any AI tools, because it makes sense to know that what you're doing is actually already successful instead of blaming the tool, switching subscriptions, and then now you're, $100, $200 out playing around this game, but the human system was never set in stone to begin with. So number 2 is create prompt templates and then save those working templates that work for you. Once you get success with Chat GPT in a conversation, start thinking of your prompts that you're entering as conversations with Chat GPT, and then ask Chat GPT to give you what's the ideal prompt to use so that you can get results like this when you have problems with X. It'll tell you exactly what to do. Take that exact, what it tells you, paste that into your standard operating procedure. And if you don't have standard operating procedures, whether you're working with a team or you're just doing everything yourself, you need SOPs. So start creating them. Guess what? Ask ChatGPT to give you an outline on how to do that. And then the third one, do not immediately introduce and start throwing a bunch of tools and recommendations to your team for them to use and figure out if it works and then fix your business with the AI tool. It doesn't work like that. The organization can only move at the speed of the leader. And if the leader is the bottleneck, nothing is moving. So be careful of what you throw at them, and that you're wondering why your videos are now late and stuff is falling behind because you're introducing too many learning curves with just equal a circle. So make sure you beta test something first, see if it works, give your team access with like 1Password or LastPass or something, and let them play around with it. And maybe, every 1 to 4 times you see if the tool works, and start to roll that out slowly and let them beta test it before you make it the go-to thing for how you do your business and work.
So much good stuff in there. Diana, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It was always fun to be here.
The 6 Ways is recorded every Friday before a live online audience. To join us for the live backstage pre-party and the after-show Q&A, find all of the upcoming shows at the6ways.com. And remember to take action on something you heard today and let us know how it goes.